BBC News, I'm John Shea. The US Secretary of State has told Russia's foreign minister that Washington is prepared to support Ukraine to defend itself for as long as necessary. Antony Blinken and Sergei Lavrov met briefly on the sidelines of the G20 summit in India, which ended without a final statement because of disagreements over Russia's invasion. Mr. Blinken's spokesman, Ned Price, told the BBC he'd let Russia know that Washington supported Ukraine's proposals for a just and durable peace to end what he called Moscow's brutal aggression.
Secretary Blinken wanted to convey to Foreign Minister Lavrov very directly, very clearly, that we're going to continue to support Ukraine, but no one wants to see this war end more quickly than Ukraine, and we're right there with them. We are ready, willing to support any diplomatic initiative that Ukraine sees fit to bring about that just and durable conclusion.
The governor of Kharkiv region in eastern Ukraine has ordered the immediate partial evacuation of the town of Kupiansk because of constant Russian shelling from across the border. This involves hundreds of children, people with disabilities and those with mobility problems. They'll be offered free housing, food and health support. The number of people confirmed dead in Tuesday's train crash in Greece has risen to 57. Coroners have been using DNA samples to identify the victims. Rail workers across Greece held a one-day strike, insisting that they'd repeatedly warned about lax standards and underinvestment. The newly appointed Transport Minister, Yorgos Yerapetritis, told reporters that the inquiry would be comprehensive.
The investigation into the cause will take place in a way that will be transparent and it will be absolutely thorough. This is the order of the Prime Minister. For this reason, today an ad hoc committee of experts will be set up to study the systemic causes that led to the tragedy we're living through and lack of action that existed over time, if any.
More than 2,000 people protested for a second day in Athens, where the passenger train started its journey, and in Thessaloniki, its intended destination. The World Obesity Federation is urging governments to act because it predicts just over half the global population will be classed as obese or overweight by 2035. James Reed reports.
Hunger still affects hundreds of millions of people around the world. But that number is small in comparison to the scale of the obesity epidemic. The World Obesity Federation says that without concerted action, 4 billion people will be overweight or obese by 2035. The problem is rising particularly fast among children and in low and middle-income countries in Asia and Africa. As well as the harm to individual health, the economic impact is huge. The Federation stresses that people with obesity are not personally to blame. Instead, it says policymakers must deliver the conditions we all need to lead happy, healthy lives.
World News from the BBC. An official in Somaliland says 210 people have died and nearly 700 have been injured during several weeks of fighting. The mayor of Las Anod said the clashes had damaged infrastructure across the town, including government institutions. Somaliland broke away from Somalia in 1991, but has not been internationally recognised. Chaotic scenes have broken out in the Georgian parliament during a hearing into a bill that would allow the government to designate media outlets and civil society groups as foreign agents. There were scuffles in the chamber and some opposition MPs were thrown out of the building. Rayhan Dimitri reports.
The controversial bill would label as foreign agents Georgian media outlets and non-governmental organizations that receive at least 20% of their funding from abroad. It has been proposed by the openly anti-Western People's Power movement, which is closely affiliated with the governing party. The authors of the bill claim that the draft emulates the US Foreign Agents Registration Act. Its critics say the bill is in spirit with Russian legislation, which curtails the rights of civil society.
2 men in Argentina have fired at least 14 shots at a supermarket owned by relatives of the footballer Lionel Messi in his home city of Rosario. The supermarket was empty at the time. A threatening message was left inside the building. It tells Messi to distance himself from the local mayor, accusing him of links with local drug lords. One of the greatest jazz saxophonists, Wayne Shorter, has died in Los Angeles. He was 89. Shorter became a well-known figure on the jazz circuit in the late 1950s with Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers. In the 60s, he joined Miles Davis's Second Great Quintet and then co-founded the jazz fusion band Weather Report. Shorter won 11 Grammy Awards and received a Lifetime Achievement Award. And that's the latest BBC News.